your specialty?
I work for Turner Construction Company. I work in the sports division, and every year we do a chart that shows all the buildings that we completed in 1 year. It represents, for 1 year for Turner, is $11 billion in 1 year. $11 billion in 1 year. And just to put that in perspective, we're the largest general contractor and builder by a factor of 2 in a market that is so big that we have less than 2% of the market. The market next year is going to be close to $800 billion in construction. So there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of different people to get involved in the construction industry. We have 46 offices. We have an international division, as Bob mentioned. We hire normally engineers and people with 4-year degrees, but a lot of the people that are instrumental in our success have high school diplomas, and they're builders. They're people who can go out and make things happen. So Bob says we're going to go after an arena in Charlotte, North Carolina. I said, Bob, first of all, we've never built one. We built Madison Square Garden in the 60s, but we haven't done one recently. There's a lot of technology. We know nothing about this, and we know very little about the market in Charlotte. So Bob gave me a couple of military analogies. We're going to take the hill or something, and we're going to charge, and we're going to do all this stuff. And sure enough, we went down there and we got the job. And we did a 25,000-seat arena for $42 million. We are currently working on the LA Rams project, 70,000 seats for $2.5 billion. $2.5 billion. So in those 30 years, things have exploded in a lot of different ways. So we went down, and that started off the Turner sports movement. And then from that, in the last 30 years, we built half of the NFL stadiums. We built half of the soccer-specific stadiums for the Major League Soccer leagues. And we've either been the largest or the second largest sports builder in the country. The first project is the Levi Stadium for the San Francisco 49ers. This was a job that we had competed for in 2006. We're unsuccessful, and things changed, and several years later they came back to us and they said, we need you to build this in 22 months. Usually these things go 26, 28 months. And the key to all these is they have to open for the season. I mean, opening a stadium in December for football makes no sense. It has to open in July. So they came to us and they said, over a Labor Day weekend in September, we had this 2-week charrette to say, how would we do this? So we came up with a plan, and what we did here is we basically built 4 quadrants of the stadium at the same time. So we had 4 crews doing piles and foundations, 4 crews coming up with the steel, and we had the expansion joints. In other words, there's 4 separate buildings as they move because of an earthquake and that. So we did it, we overlapped all of the work, and we were able to finish it in 22 months. It was about $800 million for our component, and the total project was well over $1 billion. It's also a very green project. It has a lot of environmentally friendly things, a lot of sustainable construction techniques were used, and successfully opened in 2014. A smaller project for a college in Northern Kentucky University. This is a $150 million project. It's pretty typical of what we see in college facilities. They have less suites, they have less club space, just for the economics of these. And as an aside, these are all built on making money. That's the whole idea of all of these projects, in that they'll sell the seats and they'll sell the suites. And advertising is a big deal. They'll get all these sources of income, the parking. And they're, at the beginning, they start out by saying a couple things. They say, how much money are we going to make and how many jobs are we going to create? And on something like this, even a smaller project, it's literally thousands of employees go through the project, construction workers. We probably have maybe 300 to 400 workers on a small project like this. Some projects we have as many as 1,000 workers a day on the project. And they go for many, many months. So you can just imagine how much work there is out there. I'll tell you, when I was doing this job in Florida, 3 weeks before we're opening, ESPN comes in, and we weren't finished with the broadcast feeds. So they're going to come in with their trucks for this first game, plug in, and they want all the cameras to work and all the wire to be in place and that. And the kitchen wasn't done, and because we did so much work in such a short period of time, everything was overlapping. But it was, we were working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week in those last 3 weeks to get everything finished up. And it was deadlines are real important because you can't miss one of these. You miss an opening and you might as well be, it's not good. It's hard to recover from that because you've got 65,000 guests coming to your house and the kitchen's not done. So a lot of deadlines, and the ends of all of these jobs at the end are pretty crazy. You have to maintain quality, safety. We have full-time safety people. We have safety programs, and the last one here is politics, and it's everywhere. You can imagine these are public jobs. There's public money. The media is very interested in them. Important to have. Leadership, certainly. When I was running the job down there, I had a staff of 48 people. On the professional side, plus the 1,000 workers, we had about 40 subcontractors. So we had an engineering staff in the trailers, we had a field staff out in the field. So there had to be a clear direction on where we're going and how we're going to get this done. People skills, you got, people burned out at the end. You got to be able to deal with all that when you have the inspectors coming in from the city. They want to see something done, and you got to spend time with them. You have to be able to work through all their issues. Organization, very important. You got to be able to know where everything's at. You got to be able to get things done in an organized way, and just keep track of things. Communication, very important. You got to be able to make people understand what has to be done in a clear, direct way. Math is important. There's a lot of numbers that are floating around. You have to keep track of budgets. You have to keep track of a lot of number information. Energy. Usually we're starting, we would be there, all the staff would be there 6:30, and 5, 6 o'clock at night you're still cleaning up your paperwork. Patience. There is a lot of, everything has to be done sequentially. You can't, I always tell everybody you can't put the new kids on the job. I say you can't put your shoes on until you put your socks on. So you got to dig a hole, you put in your foundations, then you do your steel, then you do your frame, then you do the enclosure, put on the roof. And all of that has to happen in a very logical, sequential order. And it's a lengthy list. I only came up with 88. And these are the sort of the major topics. And if you go down the supply chain, you could probably find another, this is almost exponential in the amount of information on this. You could go down here 3 or 4 tiers and find out. For instance, concrete is made with cement, sand, and little rocks. And somebody's got to find little rocks in a quarry, crush them, bring them to the job in a truck that could be driven by someone who has a trucking company, and or somebody who wants to broker cement.